For much of human history, the narrative of our evolution has been dominated by images of male hunters, spear in hand, bringing down large game. This powerful imagery has led many to believe that the pursuit of meat was the sole or at least primary driver of human success, shaping our biology, behavior, and social structures. However, this perspective overlooks a crucial yet often underestimated force in human evolution, the revolutionary role of food processing, a practice overwhelmingly led by women and children. This article will delve into how the diligent, often laborious work of transforming raw ingredients into edible, digestible, and nutritious meals was just as vital to our survival and thriving as hunting, if not more so, allowing humans to adapt to diverse environments and expand their cognitive and social horizons. Part 1. Beyond the Hunt, a glimpse into the Pume way of life.
Our journey begins in the llanos of south-central Venezuela during the relentless rainy season. The savannas, typically teeming with life, are now submerged under inches to feet of water. Game animals, once plentiful, have migrated, and fish are elusive, making traditional hunting and fishing endeavors largely fruitless. It's a time of scarcity, where survival hinges on resourcefulness. Here, we observe the Pume, a South American hunter-gatherer society navigating these challenging conditions. On a particularly hungry morning, a group of Pume women and children embarks on a foraging expedition, their experienced eyes scanning the soggy ground for the subtle signs of underground tubers. Even girls as young as 5 years old carry their own small baskets, eager to contribute to the day's sustenance, filling them with the thumb-sized tubers that represent their primary food source during this lean period. This scene immediately challenges the conventional narrative of male-dominated food acquisition, highlighting the critical role of women and children in securing sustenance when other sources fail. Back at the camp, the day's hunting and fishing parties return empty-handed, underscoring the vital importance of the tubers. Without hesitation, the women and children seamlessly transition into the next stage of their collective effort. They divvy up the tasks, peeling the dirt-caked roots, slicing them into manageable pieces, and then soaking them meticulously to neutralize their inherent bitterness and make them safe for consumption. This multi-step process is not merely a chore, it is an ancient, ingrained skill passed down through generations, essential for transforming potentially toxic or unpalatable resources into life-sustaining food. Later, after being roasted soft in the communal coals, the prepared tubers are shared generously across hearths, bringing a temporary but profound respite from hunger. This collaborative food preparation, distribution, and consumption illustrate a fundamental aspect of human sociality and survival strategies, revealing the everyday heroism of those who ensured the collective table is never truly empty.
As an anthropologist who has dedicated 3 decades to studying how women and children contribute to food acquisition in hunter-gatherer and subsistence farming societies, I have long been puzzled by the pervasive narrative that places meat and, by extension, men at the center of human evolution. This skewed perspective has, for too long, overshadowed the monumental contributions of women and children in shaping our biology and behavior. My extensive research, corroborated by the significant work of numerous colleagues in the field, paints a different, more holistic picture. It unequivocally reveals the central and continuous role that women and children play in consistently providing food, almost invariably processed in some form, to the collective table, day in and day out, regardless of environmental conditions or seasonal fluctuations. This consistent provision of calories, often from plant-based sources, forms the bedrock of survival, ensuring a stable energy supply that underpins all other activities. While human dietary practices exhibit an astonishing diversity across cultures and environments, one common thread binds them all: the universality of food processing. Beyond the occasional raw fruit, berry, or leafy green, the vast majority of foods consumed in traditional diets worldwide undergo some form of transformation before ingestion. This comprehensive range of processing techniques includes cracking, grinding, pounding, grating, sifting, winnowing, mashing, peeling, smashing, leaching, shelling, plucking, descaling, deboning, butchering, boiling, roasting, or any myriad of cooking methods. These aren't mere refinements. They are essential,
often non-negotiable steps that unlock nutrients, neutralize toxins, improve digestibility, and enhance palatability. Recognizing the sheer breadth and depth of these practices shifts our understanding of human ingenuity from solely focusing on tools for hunting to encompassing the sophisticated technologies and knowledge systems involved in food preparation.
The seemingly extra steps of food processing bestowed upon early humans an undeniable survival advantage, particularly during periods of scarcity. When seasons turned lean, when favored food sources were depleted, or when human populations faced constricted home ranges due to conflict or increasing density, the ability to process a wider array of foods became a lifeline. This ingenious practice dramatically broadened and diversified human diets, allowing our ancestors to thrive in an astonishing range of environments, from arid deserts to dense forests and frigid tundras. Over the course of the last 3 million years of human evolution, a profound and fundamental shift occurred. The burden of breaking food down into small, absorbable bits transitioned from being primarily an internal, gastrointestinal process to an external, technological one. This externalization, though seemingly minor, had colossal benefits, fundamentally altering our physiology and cognitive capabilities. One of the most critical advantages of food processing is its ability to render otherwise indigestible or toxic foods safe and nutritious for human consumption. Take cassava, also known as manioc or yuca, a dietary staple across South America, Southeast Asia, the Caribbean, and Africa. Raw cassava contains a cyanide derivative that is highly noxious and potentially lethal if consumed without proper preparation. Similarly, common vegetables like eggplant and potato, various beans, kidney, castor, lima, cacao, nuts, bitter almonds, palm nuts, and seeds, cycad seeds, rice, are either lethally toxic, mildly poisonous, or taste unpalatably bitter in their raw state. However, through processes such as pounding, soaking, grinding, leaching, fermenting, or cooking, these dangerous or unpleasant foods are transformed into palatable, safe, and vital sources of nutrition. Even widely consumed grains like wheat, barley, oats, and corn are rarely, if ever, eaten without some form of predigestive treatment, underscoring the universal reliance on processing. Beyond neutralizing toxins, food processing also plays a crucial role in extending the shelf life of food, a practice that was absolutely essential for human survival and expansion. During non-growing seasons, both hunter-gatherers and early agriculturalists relied heavily on stored food reserves. Indeed, vast swaths of the world would have remained uninhabitable if humans had not perfected sophisticated food storage techniques. While people in high latitudes or elevations, or with access to modern refrigeration, can preserve food for a time by keeping it cold, these options were not available to our ancestors. Instead, they developed ingenious methods such as drying, salting, or smoking food, and then carefully secreting these stores in protected places to prevent spoilage and protect them from vermin. This foresight and technological prowess in preservation allowed human populations to weather periods of scarcity, establish more permanent settlements, and ultimately expand into new, challenging environments.
The profound evolutionary legacy of softening and breaking down food through external processing is strikingly evident in the physical architecture of the human body itself. Over vast spans of time, the thick, massive teeth and robust jaws characteristic of our early Homo ancestors gradually gave way to much smaller, more refined teeth with thinner enamel. This reduction in dental and jaw size is a direct testament to the decreased need for immense grinding and tearing forces. Concurrently, the robust skulls, adorned with bony protuberances that anchored powerful chewing muscles, receded, paving the way for more delicate faces and jaws. As our heads became less occupied with buttressing a built-to-chew mastication system, precious cranial space was freed up, making room for a dramatic expansion of the brain. This anatomical transformation strongly suggests that the shift to consuming partially pre-digested food was a critical factor in the development of our uniquely large and complex brains. Furthermore, eating pre-digested food, which requires less internal processing, also relax the metabolic demand for a large and energetically costly gastrointestinal tract. Our relatively smaller gut, when compared to our primate relatives, serves as compelling evidence of this adaptation. A smaller gut frees up metabolic resources that can then be redirected to other energetically demanding organs, such as the brain. This redirection of energy is a powerful evolutionary trade-off, highlighting how dietary shifts facilitated significant changes in our physiological makeup. Beyond the anatomical changes, consuming pre-digested food also yielded a significant advantage in terms of time efficiency. Consider chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, who spend nearly half of their daylight hours diligently chewing highly fibrous fruits, which constitute a substantial portion of their diet. Humans today, by stark contrast, spend dramatically less time chewing, on average about 5% of their day, or roughly 35 minutes. This already significant reduction is further amplified with the consumption of industrially processed and highly refined foods, which often contain minimal to no fiber and require even less mastication. This freed up time, whether in the deep past or present day, could be reallocated to other critical activities: tool making, social bonding, learning, teaching, or simply resting, all of which contributed to the flourishing of human culture and intelligence. For most of our existence, humans thrived as hunters and gatherers. While only a small number of societies still rely on foraging today, studying their ingenious adaptations to diverse environments continues to provide invaluable insights for evolutionary anthropologists, helping us to understand the complex pathways that led to our species becoming so widespread and remarkably successful across the globe.
In a Pume camp, the return of hunters with meat is met with palpable excitement. Like many foraging societies living near the Ecuador, the Pume reside in small, fluid groups of around 70 individuals, relocating their camps and constructing new shelters as dictated by the changing seasons. The dry season brings relative abundance and ease, a time when food is plentiful. However, the onset of the rainy season dramatically alters the landscape and the rhythm of life, transforming a period of plenty into one of pronounced scarcity. During these lean months, hunters might return to camp only once a week or so, perhaps with a caiman, an anteater, a deer, or a large bird. While meat is highly valued for its concentrated protein and fat, it is unequivocally the plant foods, meticulously gathered and processed by women and children, that sustain the Pume through the wet season. During this challenging time of year, women and children forage almost exclusively for roots, bringing in an astonishing approximately 85% of the total calories consumed by the group. In those temperate and equatorial environments, roots, tubers, seeds, beans, nuts, fruits, and berries form the absolute staples for survival. It is the Pume women and children who consistently supply these essential bottom-line calories and, critically, process them into edible foods, ensuring the community's survival. The sheer volume and complexity of tasks required for daily survival in a hunter-gatherer society make it virtually impossible for any single individual to manage everything alone. There simply isn't enough time in the day for one person to forage for both plants and animals, process them all, haul water from distant sources, chop vast amounts of firewood, find the raw materials and manufacture the necessary tools for procurement and processing, while simultaneously constructing clothing and shelter and, perhaps most importantly, caring for children. Fulfilling these fundamental needs demands extensive cooperation. Humans thrive by dividing labor, often by age, ability, and gender, and by generously sharing the fruits of their collective efforts. The Pume are by no means unique in this regard. This cooperative model is a hallmark of hunter-gatherer societies worldwide. For these groups, food processing is frequently a multi-step daily undertaking that women and children perform together, fostering intergenerational learning and bonding. While mothers might be out collecting food, hunter-gatherer children are rarely idle in camp. From a remarkably young age, children congregate, engaged in productive play and learning, cracking nuts, roasting roots over small fires, cooking simple meals, carrying water back to camp, gathering firewood, and even crafting their own rudimentary tools. This active participation not only contributes to the daily food supply, but also provides invaluable training for their future roles within the community.
Although the specific details of labor division can vary widely across different cultures, Observational studies of contemporary hunter-gatherer societies reveal a consistent pattern. Women typically dedicate a significant portion of their daylight hours to food processing. On average, this amounts to about 20% of their day, or roughly 3 hours, spent on tasks like pounding, grinding, sifting, and cooking. Furthermore, in most of these societies, it is women and children who undertake the essential, often arduous work of collecting water and firewood, two resources that are absolutely indispensable for almost all forms of food processing and cooking. This sustained effort highlights the continuous daily commitment required to transform raw resources into consumable food, a contribution that is often underestimated in traditional evolutionary narratives. Beyond food collection and processing, women are also the primary manufacturers and maintainers of many of the critical tools used in their daily work. For instance, Pume women spend nearly 2 hours each day engaged in a variety of tool-making and maintenance activities, meticulously stripping fibers to weave durable burden baskets, crafting comfortable sitting mats, sharpening their essential digging sticks, and hollowing out gourds to create containers for water or prepared foods. Similarly, among the Kong women of the Kalahari Desert, toolmaking and repair occupy approximately an hour of their day. This encompasses everything from maintaining digging sticks and collecting bags to preparing keroses, carrying cloaks. This continuous investment in tool production underscores their active and innovative role in developing the technology necessary for their survival and for the efficient processing of food, demonstrating a technological ingenuity often overlooked in accounts that focus predominantly on stone tool production associated with hunting.
The food processing revolution is not a recent phenomenon. It has been an integral part of human adaptation since deep in our evolutionary past. While the earliest widely recognized tools in our direct hominin lineage date back some 3.3 million years, other forms of technology and archaeological evidence specifically point to the vital, yet often unacknowledged, role of women and children in shaping human development. For example, the earliest identifiable hearths, crucial for cooking and other processing activities, date to approximately 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. The stone tools and associated debris found at these hearth sites have, for too long, been predominantly assumed to belong to men, aligning with the hunting-centric narrative. However, observational data, meticulously collected by anthropologists living with contemporary hunter-gatherers, tells a profoundly different story, one that challenges this ingrained assumption. This ethnographic data reveals that women spend significantly more time than men by the hearth, engaged in a multitude of essential activities, processing food, cooking meals, and even manufacturing the specialized tools required for these tasks. Among the Pume, for instance, a striking 84% of the activities observed around hearths involve women engaged in food processing. This compelling statistic forces a reevaluation of archaeological interpretations. It raises a critical question. Is much of the archaeological debris accumulated around ancient hearths actually the byproduct of women's continuous intensive work, rather than primarily reflecting male hunting activities? While narratives of hunting have historically dominated anthropological accounts of foraging societies, a closer examination of evidence consistently shows that women have played, and continue to play, a major and often primary role in food processing, contributing essential calories and stability to their communities. Consider, for example, the hunter-gatherer groups who thrived across the North American Great Plains for millennia. In late summer, these groups would famously gather for collective bison hunts. Yet a more discerning look at early ethnographic descriptions of these seasonal camps reveals a crucial detail. Their timing was often carefully orchestrated around the peak season for berry picking and the collective work needs of women. Berries, though seemingly innocuous, were a key ingredient in pemmican, a calorically dense, highly processed power bar of sorts, made from rendered fat, shredded meat, and dried berries. Pemmican was absolutely critical for sustaining the people of the Great Plains through the harsh winter months. The berries, with their natural preservative qualities, were not just a flavor enhancer, they were a critical component for the long-term preservation of this vital winter food. Berry picking required a large labor force of women to harvest and process the berries quickly after they ripened, before birds or other scavengers could deplete the precious resource. Even today, pemmican remains an important overwintering food in some communities, although modern market alternatives now exist exist for procuring berries, lessening the immediate pressure on wild harvests. This vividly illustrates how the seemingly minor act of berry picking, a task primarily undertaken by women, was in fact a logistical and nutritional cornerstone for the survival of entire communities.
For too long, the act of hunting has been positioned as the primary catalyst for the emergence of crucial human cooperative traits: food sharing, the division of labor, pair bonding, and joint parenting. These cooperative behaviors are often cited as the defining characteristics that set us on a vastly different evolutionary path than our non-human primate relatives. However, this entrenched narrative, which places the primacy of hunting at its core, is fundamentally misplaced and fails to acknowledge the full spectrum of human ingenuity and social complexity. While hunting certainly played a role, it was food processing and the necessity of transforming raw, often difficult to consume resources that provided the consistent, reliable energy base required to sustain these complex social structures and cognitive developments. Even meat itself, the very symbol of the hunting narrative, is often difficult to consume without some form of processing. Unless it is pounded, cooked, or otherwise broken down, raw meat is challenging to tear off the bone, arduous to chew efficiently, and difficult for the human digestive system to fully assimilate. The effort required to make meat palatable and digestible highlights that even this seemingly raw resource often benefited from the same processing technologies primarily developed and applied by women and children to plant foods. This shared need for processing underscores the interconnectedness of all food acquisition and preparation, blurring the lines between hunter and processor and revealing a more integrated, cooperative approach to sustenance. So, the next time you sit down for a meal, take a moment to reflect on and truly appreciate the profound impact of the food processing revolution. Think of the ancient, persistent acts of pounding, cooking, and mashing, tasks predominantly performed by women throughout human history. This tireless, innovative work was not merely about preparing a meal, it was about unlocking a vast diversity of foods, making them safe, digestible, and nutritious. This revolution in food preparation dramatically expanded the human diet, enabling our species to not only survive, but to truly thrive in every single environment across the globe. It was a silent, unsung revolution that provided the consistent energy and freed up cognitive resources necessary for the development of our large brains, complex social structures, and ultimately, the unique trajectory of human civilization. This story was originally published on Sapiens, an Anthropology magazine, and continues to be explored by researchers like Karen L. Kramer, an anthropologist specializing in the evolution of cooperation, human sociality, life history, and childhood, whose extensive work with the Pume and Yucatec Maya has shed invaluable light on these critical, yet often overlooked aspects of human history.